Welcome to another episode of The Drive presented by Oddschecker. My name is Andy Lack. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Geoff Fienberg. We're going north of the border this week, Geoff, for the biennial President's Cup. We only see this event every other year. It is essentially, for those new to this, it is essentially the best non-European international players on the PGA Tour versus the best American players on the PGA Tour. The U.S. has dominated this event historically, going 12-1-1. But the competitions have been a lot closer across the pond. So now, as we travel to your neck of the woods, Geoff, Royal Montreal, I know you'll be on site. How are we feeling headed into President's Cup week?
So super excited getting to go to the President's Cup. I'll be in Montreal all week. So follow me on Twitter at gfienberg17. Just get a vibe on Wednesday and then through the action through the week. I mean, I don't think the odds actually tell me the internationals have a way better chance than I think. While at the same time, I have no real interest in laying that price on the Americans, Andy. But I would think that they lose the internationals. That is, they lose their biggest advantage in that you could throw a rock to New York State from Montreal. We see this thing get close when those elite American players have to go to Australia or go to Asia, sometimes South Africa. And, the body clock, the jet lag, there's just maybe they're vulnerable. I do not believe, despite a bit of a dip in the USA roster, that there's much vulnerability truly presented by this international squad.
I think it's a fair take. I mean, we're Eastern Standard Time, right? This is going to be Eastern time, right?
Yeah,
3
yeah,
to
yeah.
6 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the golf course itself is very Americanized too. I do think it'll play like similar to Canadian Open venues in terms of the scoring. Like, I think it's going to be birdies will be out there, but I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think it's going to be a total birdie fest or wedge fest. It's not how I broke down the golf course. A lot of these Canadian Opens have been like even par overall scoring average, but then somebody gets to 15 to 17 under. That's what I'm expecting this week. I think President's Cups in the past have been set up where you can get birdies, but it's not a total birdie fest layup wedge fest putting contest. Does that track for you in terms of what you think of Royal Montreal, Geoff?
I mean, it's always tough. They've had the Canadian Open there, and it was a lot of the player profile of a lot of, good shot makers and potential accuracy players. But
Yeah.
you put such high level players out there, and it's hard to really gauge, in my opinion. There's a lot of water on the course, but I don't exactly know how much in play the water is. Maybe just to spook some of the players or to want you coming in, hitting your approaches from certain angles, Andy. I think what though makes the President's Cup has its own little charm. It's like, the very, very, very light version of the Ryder Cup. It's hard to sort of manufacture that, and it's been very lopsided. But I think one of the great things that it has going for it, when you like just look back at in your mind, you replay the last handful or more in your head, is the USA still takes it pretty seriously. And they
Mhm.
care and they show a lot of emotion. Like you just
Mhm.
can run your memory bank through all of them, right? They get really into it, and that's important. I
Mhm.
just don't know how this SEC team can lose to like a non-power 5 school.
I
Like that's
agree.
just
Yeah.
sort of what it
Yeah.
feels like, when betting it using that odds checker grid. The best number you can get is minus 250 for the US if you wanted to do it responsibly and try to win yourself like a mini household appliance. I think you probably could get away with it. I though
I don't like the side. I think the US number's inflated. I think the US will win, but I don't think the internationals have as much of a chance to get me to bite on the international number. I think the international number is the US number's inflated. I don't think it's
But
worth laying the juice,
but you got
but
no interest. Like I looked at it. Like how to
no,
if I put a couple hundred responsibly on the internationals, is that worth it? I was like, yeah, you know what? That ain't worth it, friends. Like
no.
if they win, I'll be on site. I'll be enjoying it. I don't want to besmirch what winning a plus, a nice plus bet would be, but I just don't think that's the place
I'd
to
rather
attack.
just call my shot. So, like, for example, there are a couple things that I could tell you aren't going to happen. The internationals aren't going to win in a blowout. And to be honest, I don't think the US is going to win in a crazy blowout either.
You like
So,
exact numbering or like with
yeah,
yeah,
I
lay
bet
it on us.
US 17-13, 11-1.
Okay, that seems fun. That's a fun way to play it. I have no true vibe. Like in the Ryder Cup, Andy, I swear to God, I spend the whole year like thinking about it, the team, the pairings, the President's Cup. Like when it arrives and it's time to pick the team, you start thinking about it. And now that the week's here, you're thinking about it. But it's just been this thing that's kind of out of sight, out of mind the whole time. So I have no true vibes on who's going to like be paired together on the international side. That's why I say follow my Twitter because I'll be on site Wednesday. So maybe I'll be able to at least seeing or it'll be well documented who's out practicing with each other, Andy. I have made one bet though. I made
Okay.
one bet. But before I make the bet, I do think there's an opportunity to beat the books. And what
Okay.
I mean by that is Wednesday at 4 p.m., we will get the first day lineups for
Hmm.
Thursday. They'll do
Hmm.
that draft. I'm hoping to be in the press center for it. I'm excited.
Hmm.
It's the middle of football season. By that, I say it's the President's Cup. The books aren't
Hmm.
like, the President's Cup's dropping lineups today. We better take the off the board. When you see like who's playing with who's playing against who. Oh, this guy who I think could play well, who I was worried wouldn't be playing Thursday, is playing Thursday, now has an opportunity to get hot. I think there will be a good amount of time where you can see the lineup and bet the book. Sorry, bet it before it's adjusted. Now, does
Yeah.
that mean like I don't have the exact pick for you, unfortunately, but I will tell you what I did.
Hmm.
Top international point scorer.
Okay.
I bet Ben Ann
Mm.
16-1.
I took a
Um,
flyer in that market too. I bet Pendy 14-1.
okay. Another like here's the thing. This is how I look at it, and I'll just defend the Ben Ann one quickly.
Hmm.
You could make a case on blind resume. Ben Ann has had the third or fourth best season year on the entire team. He just shot 7 under on Wentworth on the weekend. So when I say that, there's no reason he should have the longest odds on the team.
Hmm.
He shouldn't. So it's just like a number play. Also, I believe he is too good. The season he's had, I am confident he's going to play Thursday. Is he
Hmm.
going to win Thursday? Jeez, I'm not that smart. And I don't really have that sort of like, but the international team, we see it every time, be it like they are in no position to rest a hot team. So
Hmm.
whichever one gets out Thursday and wins, they're going out again. And we always see, despite losing, the internationals have a hot team. And I think Ben Ann just should not be the longest odds for international point scorer, especially since knowing nothing, I'm confident he plays Thursday. He's way too good to not play Thursday. I would assume your case for Pendrith is very similar. They will
Yeah.
not like if a Canadian gets hot,
Yeah.
he will play. He will
Yeah.
play. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
I
I mean I could see where you're going with Pendrith. For me, I took a flyer on Ben Ann.
yeah. My case for Pendrith is similar. I think the way that the international team is going to look at this is
Glad
their
hand the
plan.
home crowd.
Well, I think they're
That's
gonna
part of it.
I think they're gonna adjust their plan on the fly. Like I think there's more locked in for the US in terms of what their game plan is. Like the US, if Cantlay and Xander lose their first match, doesn't mean that they're going to bench Cantlay and Xander, right? If Scotty Scheffler loses his first match, doesn't mean that they're going to bench Scotty Scheffler. Like the U.S. is going to rely heavily on Cantlay and Xander. They're going to rely heavily on Scheffler, in my opinion, with Burns. They're probably going to rely very heavily on Colin Morikawa. For the international team, in my opinion, I think we will see a lot of Hideki, Adam Scott, and maybe Sung Jae no matter what. But I think they're going to ride the hot hand, particularly if that hot hand's a Canadian. And I think they're going to mix and match a lot at the bottom. And I do think there is going to be a player on the international team. Maybe it's Taylor Pendrith. Maybe it's Benny On. Maybe it's Mackenzie Hughes. Maybe it's Siwoo Kim. One of those guys is going to play 4 or 5 times and be an integral part of the international success. The math just has to work out that way, right? There's only so many internationals that we know we can count on. One of those guys at the bottom is going to be a crucial piece for the international team. You like Benyon, I like Pendrith. But I think if one of those guys, like for example, if Benyon wins his first match and looks good, and Mackenzie Hughes loses his first match and doesn't look that good, like between Benyon and Mackenzie Hughes, they're going to ride the hot hand. You know what I mean? And
The
so,
team's not good enough. There's going
yeah.
to be a pairing that, gets a point on Thursday
And they're like, oh, Benyon and Siwoo. This
yeah.
works.
And that's like, do you, I just don't have a good feeling on who international pairings will be. And the
Well,
only
I
play,
mean, it
like,
depends.
I'm confident Tom Kim and Sung Jae Im will play five sessions. I don't know that I could say that about Adam Scott.
He's old. What about Hideki?
You would think.
I would think Hideki is more likely to play 5 than Tom Kim.
Yeah,
Has
I
Tom
mean,
Kim
they'll
been?
need it.
Tom Kim hasn't been playing as well as Hideki is my only concern.
They'll
Like,
need it. And if Connors gets going, he's playing all five.
I love Connors. I love Connors. I just worry about the putter, but and he was so bad at Quill Hall, which Pendy was too, by the way, for what it's worth. But that's baked into the number. Um,
Overall, though, like for overall point score, I
I bet
don't think I
Burns.
would get fancy. Like, I mean, people have been chasing the Burns, the Scotty, like the windtail of Scotty for a while. I just really don't see it being outside their big four. Like, I don't think
Do you think that who do you think Scotty plays the majority of his golf with this week? Bunch of different players or Burns? Because Scotty and Burns have not been good together,
that's why I'm
but
like
they
pondering
are
it.
best
Like,
friends.
Furyk might give him one more go. Like, you get one more Scott. Like, Scotty's number one in the world. He gets to call his shot. Let's do this one more time. Let's get this Burns pairing right. But that is to my point, Andy. I think there'll be time on Wednesday if you're paying attention to beat the book. And if Burns gets the Scotty draw, then you can make a Burns bet on the
Yeah.
spot. I mean, you
So
got to be
they announced that on Wednesday, huh?
Wednesday 4 Eastern, I believe. At least that's what the schedule says.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. What's your final score prediction? It's 30 points total, so it has to equal 30. I'm going US 17, internationals 13. I think it's going to be one of those events, Geoff, where it's like it's not a blowout. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I really don't. Like I think there's going to be a lot of weird ones where it's like, holy shit, Mackenzie Hughes and Corey Connors just beat Morikawa and Finau. Like that shit is going to happen. But I think it's going to be one of those events where it's always like just out of reach. Like we're always sitting there saying like, oh man, if this, and this happened, the internationals could actually win this thing. But then 2 out of the 3 things happen, or 1 out of the 3 happens. And, the internationals are always within striking distance, but the U.S. always has one hand on the trophy. Does that make sense? Like, I think it will be competitive on both sides, not a blowout, but the U.S. will kind of play with their food a little bit, lose some more matches than they need to, make it a little closer than they need to. And at the end of the day, 17-13.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with it. I'll price is right you though, Andy. I'll say 17 and a half
To
to
12 and a
12
half.
and a half.
Yeah, sure.
Um, Yeah, we'll see. Last time around singles was a problem, right? I think the internationals only won 2 of the 12 singles matches. I
Yeah,
mean, so
something like that.
that's I mean, the whole day could be a problem. Like if you cheer for the internationals, you're almost paranoid from go that they don't like get blasted 4-1 or something on the first day, but that's highly probable too.
Yeah. All right, Jeffrey. Well, all I got to say to you, man, is enjoy the golf this weekend. I've never been to Montreal. I've heard great things. I've heard it's a really fun town.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really fun event, and I'm sure you're going to have an absolute blast. And we're going to have a ton to talk about next week, no matter the outcome. Hopefully, you return in one piece for us, uh, because I will greatly enjoy doing these shows with you during the fall swing. Um, but that'll do it from us. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button on your way out and enjoy the golf this weekend.
Peace.